It is indeed my pleasure to welcome you to the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence ceremony for 2018, being held for the first time in Jamaica. And now, Sir Sridath Ramphal, distinguished Caribbean diplomat and chairman of the Caribbean Awards Regional Eminent Persons Panel, which chooses the laureates, will address you.
Tonight is about excellence. Outside the realm of tourist advertisements, that is not what most West Indians associate with our region at this time. We do not shine as a Caribbean environment, but we know that we should shine, and we know that we can, and most of all, we know that we must, and must in every sphere. The Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence are an assertion of all this. But they assert as well that there are stars in that Caribbean sky that shine with a brightness that gives light where there might be darkness, hope where there might be dismay, confidence where anxiety might overtake us. That light and hope are asserted, and they are essential to our going forward as a region, reaching to a worthy destiny. Reaching to that destiny as a people who know that it is within our grasp. The awards publicly recognize and thereby support and encourage excellence in human endeavors that might benefit and might be for the betterment of the Caribbean community. The awards themselves reach across the Caribbean, from Jamaica to Guyana, from Trinidad and Tobago through all the islands of the OECS and into the quadruple categories of arts and letters, of entrepreneurship, of public and civic contributions, and of science and technology. And they look out not so much to the past, they look very much to the future. They not so much celebrate the excellence of yesterday as the excellence that is present and promises greatness in the Caribbean of the future. The Caribbean Awards for Excellence are therefore forward-looking. They look to a Caribbean where excellence is a regional pursuit, a standard in everything we do, in all we aim to do. Our awardees over the years attest to the great capacities within our midst. They give us reassurance at times when we need it, that the Caribbean is not a backwater of human endeavor, but a rivulet of excellence. The Caribbean Awards for Excellence are now in their 12th year. It is a joy to recall here in Kingston that among the awardees in the very first year, in 2006, were two eminent Jamaicans, both with us here tonight, Reverend Father Ramkisoon and Professor Terence Forrester. This is the first award ceremony to be held in Jamaica. It is a part of the growing up of the awards. And of course, this Jamaican flavor is unmistakable in our very first awardee tonight. So let that ceremony begin. Let it begin with the chairman of the board of the ANSA Foundation, A. Norman Sabga, greeting this distinguished audience. Norm.
It is my distinct pleasure to welcome all of you this evening to the first staging of the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence ceremony here in Kingston, Jamaica. As Shafridat said, Jamaica's been a major participant in this enterprise from the beginning. From our very first group of laureates in 2006, two were from these shores, Professor Terence Forrester and Monsignor Gregory Ramkisoon. And in 2008, Mrs. Claudia Richardson Pius was also inducted. And this year, we are proud to add another. Jamaica has not only inspired the region, but has also inspired the world with its beauty, its charm, and the warmth of its people, its culture, its music, and of course, its sporting abilities. Jamaica is a driving force, and her contributions to the region's socio-economic environment is invaluable. It is therefore fitting tonight that we host these awards in Jamaica and recognize the excellence of its people and its contributions. Last year, a mere few days after the passing of our patron, we traveled to Guyana to induct our 9th group of laureates. In my address that evening, I echoed the sentiments of my father to ensure that these awards never lose its purpose nor its resolve, and that we will ensure that these awards live on just as Dr. Sabga's legacy lives on in our hearts. Excellence, in its truest sense, was something that he admired, respected, and endeavored to portray in everything that he did. During the course of his life, he encountered many exceptional people within the Caribbean, and he was aware of the tremendous quality of native genius that lives in our people that was not recognized and rewarded. As a final gesture to the region that has been so generous to him and his family, he felt it was his duty to seek out and recognize and reward them, and to inspire them by their actions and dedication to inspire others in excellence. Since the inception of these awards, the program has evolved, and the recognition of the actual awards has grown. This takes a significant amount of effort, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank those committed to making these awards a reality. I salute the laureates being awarded this evening and all the others before them. You should all be proud of your contribution, as we are all very proud and grateful to you. Congratulations, and with God's grace, may you continue your work for the benefit of all in our region. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sabga. I now invite Jamaica's own 2008 ANSA Caribbean Awards laureate in public and civic contributions and founder of Children First and the Bashi Bus program to address you, Mrs. Claudette Richardson Pius.
I am very honored to be bringing greetings at this historic occasion, as 10 years ago, I joined the august body of the Anthony N. Sabga awardees. Children First Agency, the charity organization I founded 21 years ago, continue to provide children, young people, and their families with social and educational opportunities, enabling them to contribute meaningfully to our society. The resources received from the Anthony Sabga Award in 2008 have significantly impacted the lives of hundreds and thousands of Jamaican children and youth through Children First community development initiatives in Spanish Town, St. Catherine. Our vision was to own the property we were renting at the time in order to expand our program. So we capitalized on the publicity garnered from the award, and the financial resources received served as the seed deposit on that property. I must say thanks to my family for allowing me to do it. Fast forward to 2018, Children First Agency is the proud owner of the multi-purpose building located at 8 to 10 Adelaide Street in Spanish Town, St. Catherine. The property presently houses our Youth Wellness Center, which provides ongoing accredited skill training in data operations and customer engagement for over 100 young people on an annual basis. The center is also home of other skill building activities, such as numeracy, literacy, violence prevention initiatives, life skill training, and access to reproductive health services through our mobile reproductive health clinic, the Bashi Bus. Over 200 young persons and their families are served annually. Thank you, Anthony Sabga and the ANSA Bacal Foundation for making this dream a reality. We salute the vision of the late Dr. Anthony N. Sabga and the ANSA Bacal Foundation for their continuous efforts in recognizing and supporting outstanding Caribbean men and women who continue to make positive contribution to our communities. Thank you so much for assisting us at Children First to continue our mission of improving the quality of lives of Jamaica's most vulnerable children, young people, and community members. Together, let's continue the vision of making positive difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Richardson-Pius. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we present the Caribbean Awards stars, we present you with a Jamaican star, Ms. Tessanne Chin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having us tonight. Congratulations to everyone who's being awarded. And I was asked to sing this song for you tonight, so I hope you enjoy it. Ever wonder about what he's doing? How it all turned to lies? Sometimes I think that it's better to never ask why. Where there is desire, there is gonna be a flame. Where there is a flame, someone's bound to get burned. But just because it burns doesn't mean you're gonna die. You gotta get up and try. You gotta get up and try. You gotta get up and try. Yeah. Ever worried that it might be ruined? And does it make you wanna cry? Oh, when you're out there doing what you're doing, tell me, are you just getting by? Oh, tell me, are you just getting by? Where there is desire, there is gonna be a flame. Where there is a flame, someone's bound to get burned. But just because it burns doesn't mean you're gonna die. You gotta get up and try. You gotta get up, you gotta get up, you gotta get up and Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Monty.
Dr. A. Norman Sabga and Sir Sridath Ramphal, who will make the presentations to our 2018 laureates, will now make their way to the stage. I now invite you to look at a vignette on the life and work of Professor Kai Miller of Jamaica, our 2018 laureate in Arts and Letters. After this, Professor Miller will be presented with his award by Sir Sridath and Dr. Sabga.
At the age of 40, Kai Miller has a list of achievements as a poet, novelist, and essayist that could easily fill a whole career of writing.
Kai Miller is one of the contemporary writers who's most important at this particular time in the trajectory of Caribbean writing.
Over the past decade or so, he has emerged as one of the finest voices in Caribbean literature in terms of the quality and diversity of his output, in poetry, in narrative, and certainly also as a thinker. He's not just a producer, but he's someone who thinks about production, thinks about the work of other writers.
Miller's ascent to these heights has been relatively quick, but it has not been easy, nor was it a straight or paved path.
So I dropped out from my first degree. I still don't have a first degree. Which was a brilliant thing at the time. It meant when my friends were graduating from UWI and could claim different professions, that they were doctors or lawyers, I felt I had to claim something, so I claimed writing. That led to all kinds of weird things. I got 2 books published, a book of poetry, a book of short stories that they did pretty well. The book of short stories got shortlisted for the Commonwealth Writers' Prize. I used that, and then I applied to do a master's in creative writing, and then I could say, look, I don't have a first degree, but I have 2 books. Would you consider that the equivalent?
But his early success allowed him to apply for a job in the UK, and he went to the University of Glasgow, where he taught and read for his PhD.
So yes, I did a PhD on Caribbean culture and literature, and through all that time, I'm still writing more books. I guess experimenting, finding different ways to tell the story of the Caribbean.
Kai is an immensely talented writer. I mean, he's been publishing for something around about 10 years. And in that period, I think he's published 2 or 3 collections of poetry. He's published 2 or 3 novels. He's published a collection of essays. So it's talent plus hard work. And in that respect, I think he's an important kind of role model for younger writers.
He has published 9 books and edited 1, and has won 2 major prizes. The 2014 Foward Prize for Poetry for The Cartographer Tries to Map a Way to Zion, and the 2017 OCM Booker's Prize for his novel Augustown. One of the remarkable things about this is that while he might have left the Caribbean, his work remains here.
He's retained his roots in his origins, and his origins are in the evangelical, charismatic churches of Jamaica. And these are the churches of the Word. And there is still that element in Kai.
He is also conscious of and responds to the work of the generation that came before him.
I've always been aware of myself as talking back to Caribbean writers. I am consciously talking back to Earl Lovelace. I am consciously responding to Walcott, not always in pleasant ways. I am not always agreeing. I am saying, this is what you missed out, or this is why I don't agree, or this is the other half of the story that you started to tell. I do want to respond to The Lonely Londoners, to Sam Selvon's work. Well, not to just The Lonely Londoners, but that whole trilogy. Essentially, he imagines the life of the immigrant from arrival to, the next book, Moses Ascending, and building a life in London, to Moses migrating back to Trinidad for a while before he comes back to England. And I think now I've come to England at a point where I'm seeing that generation, well, dying. And I do want to write Moses dying. I do want to write the final part of that story of what did it mean for that kind of Windrush generation? What does it mean to imagine them now?
Apart from creating stories and mapping the emotional terrain of the region, Miller's work has also placed him at the forefront of Caribbean writing.
Kai Miller is one of the important ambassadors for Caribbean writing, I would say. He has managed to make his way into academia, into literary circles, mainly in Britain and certainly in the Caribbean, which is not an easy world to enter.
What he's important to Caribbean writing for is that he's healing that divide that there used to exist between the middle-class writer and Caribbean people.
But what is evident in Miller's work and achievement is that the best of his work is yet to come.
When we look back, probably in the next few decades, we will see him as one of the giants.
It is almost spiritual to me. I cannot be anything else but a Caribbean writer.
For these reasons, Kai Miller of Jamaica has been named the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence Laureate in Arts and Letters for 2018.
Could I just say all protocols observed? I'm a Jamaican writer. born in Trinidad in 1978. The first time I told that particular lie was in Manchester, England. I'd given a reading and a woman came up to me and said, I'll have to try to replicate her accent. She said, oh, that was beautiful. Are you from Trinidad? And thinking then that of all the accents in the Caribbean, the Trini accent was the best, the most melodic, I felt quite complimented by this remark. And so I answered, yes. Yes, I am. Then disaster. Her accent switched at once. She said, oh gosh, you're really from Trinidad? My family lives in Samoa. And thinking there was no way I could maintain the lie, I came up with a new one. I was born in Trinidad, but the family moved to Jamaica when I was really young. You see, always your lies find you out. Or else you discover it wasn't a lie at all. You see, I was born in Trinidad, but it was 1996, and also it was 1950. I was born on the pages of Earl Lovelace's novel, The Wine of Astonishment. The spiritual Baptist community subdued, broken under a colonial law that made it illegal for them to be themselves, to get into the spirit, to speak in tongues, to shout. The sermons are suddenly sterile, sanitized, unmoving. The church dwindles. Then B, the pastor decides to break the law. In the chapter of that name, it is not only the colonial law that is broken, but the birth waters that would deliver me into the holy vocation of writing. On the pulpit, B is repentant. He says, the real problem is that he has neglected his duty. He confesses his own sin, that he forgot to tell his people who they were. And in eliciting one of the most incredible sermons to ever appear on the pages of literature, the congregation shouts, tell us, preacher, tell us who is we. Immediately I knew who B was. He was the writer, the artist, the maker from the Caribbean. I was B. And the congregation was the Caribbean itself, the Caribbean calling to its artists, tell us who is we. I'd always wanted to be a writer, but in those pages, my duty changed. It belonged to the Caribbean. It belonged to that project of understanding and declaring ourselves. Many of you will know that a recent essay of mine fell into our Caribbean sea, something like a stone. It has been causing ripples, wave of anger followed by wave of praise, and on and on. One particular critic, not a fan of the essay, counseled me that I should use my position to spread love, that the job of the writer is to spread love. I thought about it, but I reject that. Though she wasn't wrong to center the writing project around this business of love, she simply got her verbs wrong. The job of the writer isn't to spread love. That's for Santa Claus or fairies. However, it is the writer's job to think with love, to analyze with love, to write with a complexity as deep as its compassion. So Mr. Norman Sabga, Maria Nielsen, distinguished guests, family, friends, I recognize and receive this award tonight for what it is, an act of love. A way that the Caribbean has chosen to love me back, me and my fellow laureates, for the work that we do, and I know that love comes with its own responsibility, the responsibility to return it, and that much I commit to. I will continue to think about this space, about the Caribbean, with as much love as I can fit in my own heart, and I will continue to stand up on the pulpit of the written word, this craft that is my life, and I will try to tell us who we are.
Thank you, Professor Miller. You will now view a vignette of Mr. William Andrew Boyle of Guyana on our 2018 laureate in entrepreneurship. After this, Mr. Boyle will be presented with his award by Sir Sridath and Dr. Sabga.
As the region develops, its needs become more sophisticated. This is especially true for the provision of medical services. This is where Andrew Boyle of Guyana has made his mark, with his Eureka Laboratory, which provides state-of-the-art testing services all through Guyana.
Eureka Labs has served Guyana and even the Caribbean to some extent with their lab tests and their technology. And they have done such a good job. They have continued to improve their services.
I know he started out small, with a small lab in Georgetown. And then he went on and increased that to a bigger lab and spread throughout the country to bring service to other people. And what I'm impressed with is the fact that he's ISO certified. And even the government labs are not.
The provision of medical services is a capital and science-intensive pursuit, and its growth was not an easy journey, but it was not a purely financial venture.
Well, I think that he feels that there's certain things that are needed for people to improve themselves and to be better. It's not a matter of just earning money and putting it there. It is how can I use what I have to serve people more.
Marker of the human being he is, because he goes and he gets engaged with the medical outreaches, bringing care to people who really need it. His work with Rotary as well. The amount of hours that he sometimes gives to these organizations that are not his own company.
The laboratory was a lifelong dream, but it was not enough. His father was a farmer, and a desire to continue that legacy pushed him to the Berbice region where he was born to start another business.
My father was a farmer. He was a huge farmer in every respect, I'd say, but everything was done manually. When he died, I sort of died with him, because my other siblings didn't take care of things. So those of us who were a bit more endowed decided let's do something, and we decided to form a company.
Thus was born Amazonia Farms. But his next move was more unpredictable. It was an opportunity he discerned from his environment, the need for sustainable energy.
We just discovered oil, and that's a great thing, but that's going to have some damage to the environment. We need to face it. But with the green sustainable energy, you can't go wrong with that.
Andrew Boyle is now the proprietor of 3 separate successful businesses. The main impetus for this was his early life, but not for its hardship.
I was born in a place called Harakuli, Berbice River, which is some 79 miles up there. It's a very beautiful area. It was totally remote. It required going to school, paddling to go to school. That was a way of life. There's nothing difficult about that. Basically, it's just a nice way of life. It's beautiful. I wouldn't like to say primitive. It's a different lifestyle.
He was a good student and was able to complete his education through scholarships in Cuba. But when he was ready to start his business, it was not a straight path.
I was discouraged, even by some of my families. A very close friend, who's one of my members of family, he said, "Oh, don't waste your time. You're not going to do, I remember going into the bank with a fancy proposal. I said, I only wanted $5 million. $5 million is $25,000. It's a joke. So I asked them, I remember it's like today. The bank manager said, what am I going to do with this? And I felt so small.
These setbacks did not deter him, mainly because of his personality and his upbringing.
I was taught to respect other person's feelings and their opinions, and not to get upset, because that's your opinion. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, I have mine. You see, when you have a dream, it's only you can know what you really want, and when you want something badly, you work towards getting it.
His business successes are impressive, but those who know him are unanimous that Andy's greatest success is as a human being.
Well, he is a true Rotarian, and he lives the motto of Rotary, which is service above self. And Andy always thinks of others before himself, even when he gives. I don't think Andy thinks, how much is going to be left for me? He's so concerned with how much are they going to get out of it. And I think that is the key to giving. Everyone who meets Andy, they fall in love with Andy. So like everybody loves Raymond, in Guyana, everybody loves Andy.
If many more people were to do what he does, this would really be a much better country.
For these reasons, for being an entrepreneur who has created successful businesses, and for making the care of people his mark of success, Andrew William Boyle of Guyana is the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence Laureate in Entrepreneurship for 2018.
All protocols observed. Good evening to you, wonderful people. Good night, Jamaica. Good night, Jamaica. This has been truly an awesome journey back to one of my favorite places. You've been, as you always are, warm, welcoming. It has also been very nice to mingle and to get to know the warm ANSA Sabga team along my fellow laureates. I'm pretty sure that I've made some friendship for life. I'm sincerely grateful to this wonderful experience. Thank you. Who said a child shouldn't dream? Growing up in one of the jungles of lovely Guyana was not a walk in the park. While living there, I never knew that life offered as many options and possibilities as they are. It was until I became a teenager that I was exposed to the bright lights of the rural town of New Amsterdam, some 79 miles away from my humble home, but I dreamt. I was laughed at and ridiculed for being a bush boy, but I dreamt. And this is a story I always tell my friends. In my first movie, I was probably around 12 years old. When James Bond came out to the water and aimed his gun at the screen, I thought it was my end. I immediately dropped to the floor and exclaimed, "Oh God, help me." Could you imagine how those kids laughed and ridiculed me afterwards? In retrospect, I grew up relatively underprivileged, but I didn't have the slightest clue that I was what I dreamt. Lupita Nyong'o, that young actress, said that no matter where you're from, your dreams are valid. My almost fairy tale life journey could not have been possible had not been for the extreme favor of the Almighty God. He continues to deliver in no ordinary way. My awesome supermom and my late dad, late Papa, deserve kudos beyond measure. They instilled values that stayed with their 10 children and continue to guide us through life's journeys. Thank you, Mom. You've done and continue to do a fantastic job. May I ask Mom to stand and be recognized? Thank you, Mama. My awesome siblings, and yes, we were 10 of us, have been always supportive through thick and thin. You portray the meaning of sisters and brothers, the true meaning of sisters and brothers. My children, Tony, Andrew Jr., and Kezia, thank you so much. It is my wish, as most parents do, that your lives would be classier than mine. That your dreams be deep and meaningful. Karen, you were very supportive in allowing me to live my dreams while we raise these 3 fabulous children. Thank you. My extremely dedicated dream teams of Amazonia Farms, Caribbean Wind and Sun, and Eureka Labs, I owe you a world of gratitude. You're the ones who really deserve these kudos. Colonel Clarence Gordon, AKA Pops, thank you for your never-ending support and guidance. To all who continued in my life, or who contributed in my life in whatever little way, I publicly say thank you and express my sincerest gratitude. To my referees, you've painted beautiful, beautiful pictures of me. Makes me wonder if you're really talking about me. Roxana, you're relentless and thorough as you compiled my data. Hope I didn't give you too much trouble. ANSA Sabga team, I assure you that the choice you've made by my selection will reap dividends. Maria, I surely remember the sweet sound of your heart-stopping announcement, which left me speechless for a few seconds. Sorry, I was probably uncharacteristic with my outburst. I was truly blown away. Thanks, ANSA Sabga. I have 2 major innovative projects in the pipeline, one which will be launched on Tuesday, next Tuesday, the 15th. It's called Fast Track. It's where we provide an avenue for our busy entrepreneurs and maybe politicians to access our services in a timely, confidential manner, and discreetly, of course. And there's another service coming up, which is a little secret, which should be launched towards the end of this year. With this timely injection of funds, it's my goal to supply more rural neighbors in the Berbice River with affordable solar energy. They still have the lanterns and so on there. And as part of my corporate social responsibility, I've already commenced the construction of a computer lab for my primary school in the Berbice River. This facility will be fully solar powered and also will have internet from satellite. I need to give our young people a bit of exposure so that they too can dream. Please remember, maybe sometime next year, very early next year, to read Andy's story. It's filled with all kinds of adventures. And the proceeds of that book will go towards, again, my alma mater in Berbice River. Martin Carter said, this famous Guyanese poet. He wrote, "I do not sleep to dream, but dream to change the world. I encourage you, especially the youngsters, not only to dream, but to work diligently towards making those dreams become realities." And I wish to challenge my fellow laureates to make this fancy and glorious ceremony of this evening pale in comparison to what we're going to achieve in the future. I wish to thank you all sincerely.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. This next vignette is on the lives and work of Siobhan and Noel Joseph of Trinidad and Tobago, our 2018 laureates in public and civic contributions. Following the vignette, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph will be presented with the awards by Sir Sridhar and Dr. Sabga.
To lose a child is a terrible tragedy, but for a parent to channel the pain of that loss to save other children is one of the highest virtues. This is what Siobhan and Noel Joseph did after the death of their son, Jabez, in 2007 from cancer.
They came up with the idea of the Just Because Foundation after having had to go to England for treatment. When they were there, they were exposed to the difference that children over there in terms of hospital care versus the hospital care that we have here.
The Josephs' experiences in England showed them a harsh reality of life in the Caribbean.
When JB was leaving the UK, he said he did not want to come back to this hospital because it wasn't as nice as the one in the UK. And my promise to him then was to fix the one in Trinidad. We were exposed to an amazing facility in the UK where he went for his major surgery. And our thought then was to come back and recreate everything that we experienced over there for families in Trinidad and Tobago.
While abroad, Siobhan had gotten a call from one of the parents whose son had a similar condition, and they were from deep south. And they had so many challenges, so many issues, just traveling with a sick child, with fever, vomiting in a vehicle. It was awful for them. And so Siobhan hit upon the idea, listen, based on what we experienced, Noel, why can't we then open our home?
This was the start of their home away from home concept, to assist parents who had to come from distant areas of the country with children for treatment.
We live on the more countryside, as we would say, of Trinidad, and most of the facilities are like Port of Spain. So we had Auntie Siobhan and Uncle Noel. They helped us out with the foundation housing so that we were like 5 minutes away from radiotherapy, because it was every single day for 30 days entirely, as well as we had the Maxi, the JBF Maxi, taking us up from the home to the facility to have the radiotherapy done.
The Just Because Foundation grew, but it was not easy. The next intervention was within the medical system.
We came across an unused ward on the compound, and it was a big task to try and even conceptualize changing it into a ward for children with cancer.
It was a really, really big task because, as Siobhan was saying earlier, we are not medical professionals. So one of the things you encountered was people asking you, what did you know about setting up a unit? And the answer is nothing. We were parents.
For them to actually institute this, that meant that they had to actually go to the administration. And administrations, when you actually go to them, you have to propose your idea, you have to show them, you have to show them where the money, where the income is going to come for these changes. So that was also something that they had to battle with to try to get support.
Nonetheless, the Josephs' relentless persistence paid off, and they were able to effect this sea-level change in the way medical care is dispensed.
JBF affects our oncology population in a holistic way, because we don't really just nurse our patients, we nurse the family and the community.
But once the ward and support systems for parents had been set up, they realized further depths to the problem.
Raven, our daughter, who was between 7 and 9 at the time of Jabez's illness, she came and she said, listen, I need to talk to you guys. And she put us to sit down, a 9-year-old putting us to sit down to say, guys, I felt at times like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, she said everyone would call and ask how JB was doing, but no one asked how she was doing. And she observed that and she felt very excluded.
This realization led to the creation of an entirely new enterprise, treating the families. JBF launched groups for mothers, fathers, and siblings of the sick children. This focus on people was a remarkable mental shift for a region where ideas of development are concerned more with machinery and less with human beings.
The JBF system, I'm hoping, would be used as a model, as an example of what care for children should be, and something that should be adopted by not just this region, but also other regions where there are pediatric wards.
The foundation has been in existence for 12 years and has helped more than 3,400 children and their families. They have changed lives. But despite all these achievements, the foundation has ambitious plans for the future.
A major part of what we've done over the past 10 years is provide support services for children with cancer, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but we have doctors from around the region who would ask for advice. We are like a hub. So that is going to be a big thing in the next 5 years. How can we establish not necessarily a Just Because Foundation unit, but how can we then go to the other islands and say, we have a blueprint and we would like to share that with you. It's going to be JBF Caribbean in the next 5 years.
For these reasons, Siobhan and Noel Joseph, founders of the Just Because Foundation in Trinidad and Tobago, have been named the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence laureates in public and civic contributions for 2018.
A pleasant good night to each and every one of you. Pleasant good night to Mr. A. Norman Sabga, Chairman of the ANSA McCall Group, directors and members of the ANSA McCall Foundation, members of the Regional Eminent Persons Selection Panel, our fellow laureates, specially invited guests, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen.
When we initially got the call that we had won, we were in disbelief. Actually, I think we still are, even though we're here tonight. For the past 10 years, serving children with cancer and their families via the work of the Just Because Foundation has been a very humbling and worthwhile experience. Our expectations were simple. As old people say, when you die, God will have a special place in heaven for you. And that's certainly something great to look forward to. So to be recognized in such a magnanimous manner for the work we have done is nothing short than awesome. And we would like to extend our congratulations to our fellow laureates of 2018, because it's such an honor to share this moment in time with you. Tonight, I stand here to proudly receive this award on behalf of our son, Jabez J.B. Joseph, the boy behind the cause, who, because of the way he lived and the courage and faith he showed throughout his battle with childhood cancer, motivated us to accomplish all that has been realized this far. He has been such an inspiration to me and has changed my life significantly for the better. We receive this award for our other little angels who lost their battle to this dreaded disease. May their parents continue to receive grace from God and the ability to transform their sadness into memories of happy times. We receive this award for our current patients and parents. May God give them the strength and understanding needed as they go through their journey. We receive this award for our survivors. May God continue to bless them with good health, success, and happiness, and may their experience be an inspiration to everyone they meet.
At this time, we would like to thank the Country Nominating Committee of Trinidad and Tobago for considering us and doing so much research and background work that led to us being here tonight. We thank the Regional Eminent Persons Selection Panel because we know that your deliberations must have been quite challenging, and we sincerely thank you for giving us the nod. Many, many thanks to the directors and management team of the Just Because Foundation. To our friends and family, thank you for putting up with us over these years when you couldn't see us at all and you didn't know what we were up to sometimes. Thank you so much for your love. We must also express our thanks to the Board of Directors and Administration of the North Central Regional Health Authority in Trinidad for having faith in us and tangibly supporting our efforts over the years. Thanks to the JBF staff at the Children's Hospital Mount Hope, doctors, nurses, volunteers, everyone who gave of their time, their prayer, monetary donations, and words of encouragement.
We are honored to be one of the many players in the region focusing on health and the well-being of the children of the Caribbean. We could not have done this alone. And together, we will continue to make a positive difference.
Indeed, we are grateful, ladies and gentlemen, for the vision of the late Dr. Anthony N. Sabga, for whom excellence became a watchword. Receiving this prestigious award will allow us to continue our work that we've started many years ago, and to implement projects that are currently on hold. It will open many more doors for us and certainly amplify our message of creating awareness and promoting wellness for the children of the region.
We see this opportunity to serve others as a direct assignment from God. So tonight, we thank Him for allowing us to understand the journey and giving us the grace to accept destiny. Again, we say a heartfelt thank you.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph. The fourth and final vignette is on the life and work of Dr. Adesh Ramsubag of Trinidad and Tobago, our 2018 laureate in science and technology. At the end of the vignette, Dr. Ramsubag will be presented with his award by Sir Sridhar and Dr. Sabga.
When it was first discovered by Europe, the Caribbean was thought to be a gateway to El Dorado, a city of gold. In the centuries since, gold has been mined and black gold has been extracted. But more precious Caribbean treasures remain, and Dr. Adesh Ramsubag is at the forefront of discovering them.
Well, we know the tropical environment, especially this Caribbean region, is a hot spot for drug discovery. That is well established. And what happens right now is that a lot of foreign companies, a lot of foreign research institutes are coming, taking our biological resources. So we don't know to what extent they are developing drugs from our bioresources, but we know that their bioprospecting is taking place.
The whole world is in a constant search for new antimicrobials. So this country, as well as this region, is gifted with a high level of natural biodiversity. I mean the microbial biodiversity, where we have chances of identifying new microorganisms which are supposed to produce novel molecules which are of potential antimicrobial and antibiotic activity.
My research involves discovering and developing novel antibiotics from microorganisms in Trinidad.
But the uses to which Dr. Ramsubag's work and research may be put are not always conventional.
So what we're looking at is using the indigenous microorganisms and using them to solubilize the oil, encourage more oil and heavier oil to come out of the formations. I've been doing this research for about a year and a half now, and we already have significant results. Dr. Ramsubag was very instrumental in designing the project, and he's been a source of encouragement, throughout all the little hiccups we've had so far.
So we expect this to be patented within this year. It has to go through clinical trials, which means that it could possibly reach the market, if everything goes well, within 3 years.
Today, Adesh Ramsubag is a microbiologist and geneticist, but he began his adult life as a farmer in South Trinidad.
So I grew up in a very rural and agricultural village where the center of life was agriculture. So I became a farmer, and I was a registered farmer. And I heard about the agriculture program where I can come in and do the A-level equivalent, the sciences that are the prerequisites for the agriculture program. So I came in to do the BSc in agriculture, and then I became exposed to the sciences in depth. And I was gravitated towards biological sciences. I love genetics, I was inspired by the lecturers. And along the way, I found many mentors.
His beginnings drove him to ground his scientific knowledge in real life. He worked with Kariri, putting science to practical use.
I became exposed to a wide range of issues affecting the wider society. Farmers, because they don't have proper guidance from relevant agencies, they are on their own basically relying on the chemical companies for advice, and often they will be applying chemicals in excess quantities. And we are now in the process of developing manuals as well as publishing the data, which will become available to the wider public.
He joined the University of the West Indies in 2001 as a teacher and researcher.
His research has spread the entire breadth of microbiology, working from industrial microbiology to agricultural microbiology and medical microbiology and so on. So I think therein lies his strength, as a researcher.
For all the breakthroughs, though, the future might not be as rosy as it seems, since the society does not seem to have its priorities straight, plowing money into unprofitable pursuits but little on science.
We have tremendous potential in biotechnology as a whole for economic development. Today, Cuba is exporting pharmaceuticals and other biotechnological products in large quantities, worth hundreds of millions of US dollars. They are a major player in the world right now. But Cuba has been investing in research and technology significantly, particularly in biotechnology. From the 80s come back, If you look at a country like South Korea, almost 4% of their GDP goes towards research and development. In the US, almost 3%. Unfortunately, in Trinidad, it's very, very insignificant. Our GDP spending in research and development is less than 0.05 of 1%. We may even have more potential of developing new drugs than Cuba.
At a time when the economy is not doing very well, and we are looking for alternatives, this is an area I think that we should get into.
The only thing that is missing is significant investments in research.
For championing the causes of science and education, for his brilliance in deriving potentially game-changing scientific discoveries, and for his dedication to his country, his students, and his work, Dr. Adesh Ramsubag of Trinidad and Tobago is the 2018 Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence Laureate in Science and Technology.
ladies and gentlemen. Good night, Jamaica. My favorite place aside from Trinidad. And it was my second home during my postgraduate studies. I actually spent more than a semester in Jamaica, and it's one of the most wonderful experiences I had. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly humbled and honored by this award this afternoon. I sincerely thank the chairman, directors, and members of the ANSA Makal Foundation and the Anthony Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence. Special tribute to Dr. Anthony Sabga for recognizing the needs of the Caribbean and for supporting the advancement of science and technology in this region. I strongly believe that science and technology can be a significant driver for economic and social development in the Caribbean. But there is a critical need for more funding of science-based programs, without which the full potential will not be realized. Having grown up in a simple agricultural committee, an award like this would have seemed unimaginable. Though humbled by this award, I would not be standing here today if it was not for the efforts and contribution of so many other people. Firstly, I would like to thank my family for their unwavering support and encouragement over the years. From my father, the late Brigida Ramsubag, I learned resilience, hard work, determination, problem-solving skills, and a positive attitude, irrespective of the circumstances. My dearest mother, Raji Ramsubag, who is here tonight, worked tirelessly from sunup to sundown to ensure that all her 9 children were educated. Just to name a few of her professions, she was a housewife, a seamstress, a gardener, and a cattle herder. I don't know how she did it. My 8 older siblings, 5 of whom are here today, planted the seeds of curiosity in my mind with their constant intellectual discussions and debates at my home when I was growing up. Secondly, we have all heard the saying that it takes a village to raise a child. The community of Rochard Road, Pinal in Trinidad, where I grew up, provided the core values and nurtured a deep interest in my culture, religion, sports, and music, all of which were pivotal in enhancing my stability, focus, and discipline. Despite my disinterest in formal schooling, my caring and considerate teachers made great efforts to provide comfort and encouragement in my academic pursuits. Thirdly, it was only fate and chance that I enrolled at the University of the West Indies for my undergraduate degree. There I met an inspiring group of friends who prodded me to become a conscientious student. I was exposed to brilliant minds at the UWI, and their intellectual quest inspired an even deeper interest in gaining knowledge. I was particularly drawn to microbiology and genetics, and eventually undertook postgraduate studies under the supervision of the late Dr. Alfred Donowa and Professor Padmanathan Umaharan. And these individuals were instrumental in stimulating and developing my mind and creating a passion for research. I thank my colleagues from the Department of Life Sciences, the Department of Chemistry, and the entire UWI family for their unending support and encouragement. In fact, I am only here because of the persistence of my colleagues, Professor John Agard and Professor Jayaraj Jayaraman, who, despite my hesitation, insisted on my nomination for this award. I would like to recognize the efforts of my hard-working students, without whose efforts and teamwork, many of my research projects would not have reached fruition. My father-in-law, Mr. Raghuraj Bahadur Singh, who we refer to as the walking encyclopedia, he has kept my brain intellectually sharp with his academic discussions in all manner of subjects. Finally, I would like to recognize my wife, Satyavati, my children, Deepak, Vani, and Shrishti, for their understanding and support over the years. The life of an academic is very demanding, and the persons closest to you are the one who makes the greatest sacrifices. I would like to re-emphasize the critical role of science and technology in any modern knowledge-based society. I applaud the ANSA Makal Foundation and its efforts, and it is my greatest hope that this award ceremony will encourage regional governments and other businesses to further invest in Caribbean science and technology. In closing, a word of encouragement to our younger generation. You can achieve success, irrespective of your background or circumstances, through hard work, dedication, and commitment. I encourage you to have faith in yourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ramsurag. And now I invite Mrs. Maria Superville-Nielsen, Program Director of the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence, to deliver her remarks.
We have come to the end of our program this evening, and I thank you all for sharing these very precious moments with us. Good night, and may God bless us all. Thank you.